Hello and welcome to the Warlords of Draenor level 100 Subtlety Rogue PvP Guide. Here you will find the basics that you need to know to perform well as a Subtlety Rogue in PvP. This video is an extension of Introduction to Rogue, Basics for New Players. If you haven't seen that video, I suggest you take a peek at it before you continue with this one. Also, if you missed the 6.0 transition from Mists of Pandaria to Warlords of Draenor, I suggest you take a peek at the Rogue Changes Breakdown for 6.0 to get up to speed with what's changed, what kind of skills have been removed, because in this video, we're going to be coming from a perspective of a player who's been messing around a little bit in Warlords of Draenor and has a basic understanding of the changes that have happened through Mop to WoD. So if you haven't seen those, go ahead and take a look at them, pause this video, and head back after you've digested some information. But if you're all up to speed, let's go ahead and break down exactly what kind of gems and enchants, what kind of rotation and playstyle a Subtlety Rogue should be utilizing in Warlords of Draenor PvP. So first, let's examine why a player would choose Subtlety over the other two specs. The first, and probably the most noteworthy reason for playing Subtlety, is its short cooldown on the ability Shadow Dance. What Shadow Dance does is give you access to your stealth skill set from outside of stealth for 10 seconds. Another asset that Subtlety has over the other two specs is it gains burst damage every time you enter stealth. While you're stealthed, and for a few seconds thereafter, you deal 15% more damage to enemies. On top of this, if you open from stealth with one of your stealth abilities such as Ambush, Garrote, or Cheap Shot, you will apply Find Weakness to your target, causing all your attacks to bypass a large portion of a player's armor. Now that we have a general idea as to why players choose Subtlety, let's take a look at some of the perks that we've gotten while leveling from 90 to 100. Empowered Fen of Knives. What Empowered Fen of Knives does is allow your Fen of Knives ability to generate one combo point per target that it hits. This can be very powerful when paired with Anticipation, and you're fighting things like Demonology Warlocks, Beast Mastery Hunters or Hunters using Stampede, or other classes with various pets. Enhanced Dance. What Enhanced Dance does is add 2 seconds to the duration of your Shadow Dance, making it a 10-second buff. Enhanced Stealth. Enhanced Stealth increases the damage Master of Subtlety grants you, from 10% up to 15%. Enhanced Vanish. 30 seconds off the cooldown of Vanish, making it a 1.5 minute cooldown. Let's take a look at our talent trees. We'll move from the top to the bottom and examine each tier. Night Stalker, Subterfuge, and Shadow Focus. I feel Subterfuge is extremely important for Subtlety Rogues, as they depend on their stealth openers. That 3-second window allows you to get your Cheap Shot or your Garrote off, meaning you'll get Find Weakness and increase your damage drastically. Next is Deadly Throw, Nerve Strike, and Combat Readiness. Now, I definitely feel Nerve Strike and Combat Readiness are the stronger of the two choices here, as Deadly Throw's interrupt aspect has been nerfed to 5 combo points instead of 3, so it's less consistent as a ranged interrupt. Nerve Strike can be used to relieve pressure from your team by reducing the damage enemies will be dealing, and Combat Readiness can be used to make you extremely tanky if players do decide to continue attacking you while it's up, and it also gives you a little bit of freedom to roam around if people do decide to swap off you while it's active. Bear in mind though, if a player attacks you and brings it up to, let's say, 2 or 3 stacks, then swaps off you, the Combat Readiness effect will fade, leaving you vulnerable. In the third tier, I feel there is genuinely no choice, and we should be taking Elusiveness, as it increases our versatility by 910 through our Forset. Whenever we use Feint, we might as well take Elusiveness to further buff this ability. Now, the age-old argument of Shadow Step versus Burst of Speed isn't so much of an argument as it is personal preference and depending on what you're doing. In a battleground, I personally prefer to use Burst of Speed because it makes me extremely hard to kill, and nothing's more aggravating than a rogue always getting away. But in coordinated PvP, I opt to use Shadow Step to make fierce swaps that are harder to predict. Our level 75 tier has 2 unique PvP options. Prey on the Weak increases damage that enemies take while they're stunned. This damage increase comes from all sources, so if you and your hunter or mage teammate are setting up big bursty switches, then Prey on the Weak is probably your best option. But if you're running a comp that deals lots of spread damage and has, good consistent pressure, Internal Bleeding might be for you. Our level 90 tier has 2 very strong options. Mark for Death can be used for an instant on-demand 5 combo points, or Anticipation can be used to allow you to stack extra combo points when you're not intending to spend them. And at level 100 we have Venom Rush, which increases our energy by 15, Shadow Reflection, which summons a clone that will memorize our ability usage over 8 seconds, then do it again over the next 8 seconds, and Death from Above, which leaps into the air making us immune to CC for about 1 second, and then charges quickly towards the opponent, dealing an extra 50% damage eviscerate. As for our glyph choices, we're relatively restricted. I feel almost all serious PvP rogues should be taking Glyph of Blind, Glyph of Energy, and Glyph of Cheap Shot. Swapping Glyph of Cheap Shot out for Glyph of Garrote in situations where they feel the silence duration would be more effective. I'm going to be showing to you 2 sets of gear that I'm currently using on the Warlords beta. I'm going for Mastery over Crit, over Versatility, over Multi-Strike, over Haste. I'm valuing Versatility slightly higher than Multi-Strike because I feel Versatility is more consistent, and when you combine it with our PvP 4-set bonus, anytime you're just riding a target, you'll have a passive 6% DR from Versatility, as well as a 13% damage increase. I'm using Mastery and Chance, which will put my Mastery up over 100% in the opener. These procs will almost always be up alongside your Surge of Conquest and openers, so I feel the Mastery and Chance are pretty consistent and add a good, healthy damage boost to your Rupture, as well as Eviscerates. While this gear can put out very large Death from Above Eviscerates, and your Mastery is pretty high, making your Rupture tick hard, you also have a good little chunk of Versatility, which increases all the damage you deal, auto attacks, poisons, everything by 6%. I've also been experimenting with another set of gear, which puts me at around 30% Critical Strike, 20% Multi-Strike, and 50% Mastery. Basically what I'm doing is that I'm exchanging 10% Mastery for 10% Crit, and 10% Mastery for 10% Multi-Strike. I lose a little bit of Versatility in the process. It's only 2% damage really. So with this set of gear, you find yourself in a situation where you have a nice high crit chance, leaving you with more critical strikes overall. And another thing to contribute greatly to damage is having those freaking multi-strikes, man. We have this thing called Sinister Calling, that whenever our backstab or ambush multi-strike, all of our bleeds on our target tick an additional time. So when you multi-strike with backstab, your Rupture instantly deals its damage. Now if backstabs are hitting around 10k and your Ruptures are hitting around 5,000, then whenever you have a multi-strike backstab, that's an additional 5,000 damage, which is pretty good. This is why I'm kind of enjoying this set of gear. I'm having a real hard time determining which set I'm going to be using on live servers, and it's a damn shame the beta is closing 2 weeks before WoD goes live. So to get these exact stats, I'm going with the Rogue PvP 4 set, swapping out the shoulders for the Critical Strike multi-strike shoulders. I'm using the Crit Haste Necklace, enchanted with 40 crit. I'm also using the Critical Strike Mastery Cape, enchanted with 100 crit. For bracers, I'm using the Critical Strike multi-strike bracers. In the belt slot, I'm using Belt of Prowess, which is Critical Strike Mastery. In my boots, I'm using Versatility Mastery once again. And for rings, I'm going Crit Strike, Multi-Strike, and Critical Strike Mastery. Both of these rings are enchanted with 30 crit. Again, the same applies for your trinkets. If you're a human, use double damage. If you're not, you might want to opt for the proc trinket. With this set of gear, I'm opting for the Thunderlord enchants, because whenever you do get a critical strike and you're using these enchants and the proc is already up, criticals increase the duration of the actual enchant. So, you know, the more you crit with this enchant active, the longer it will last. So this enchant works better at higher crit chance anyway. Let's start moving into some information about gameplay. Here's how you can maximize your damage output in 4 simple steps. The first one being Slice and Dice. What Slice and Dice does is regenerate 8 energy every 2 seconds and increase your auto attack speed by a certain amount depending on what your mastery level is. Next is Sanguinary Vein. What Sanguinary Vein does is increase the damage that you deal to bleeding targets by 20%. This effect is only triggered from Rupture or Garrote. Rupture itself does relatively respectable damage, and whenever you multi-strike with Sinister Calling, your Rupture will also trigger an additional tick. So it's important to always keep a Rupture up on your target, I feel, since the damage output is actually very strong. Anytime you go to invest damage into a target, you should be opening with full energy. Rarely is it good to stun a target that you plan on killing without having a full energy bar. You always want to wait till you're sitting at full energy before you stun your target, because the rogue's potential to deal damage is based purely off his energy bar. So you always want to make sure you're at full energy before you use your Shadow Dance or attempt to invest a full stun in a target. When a rogue is in stealth and opens from stealth, he deals 15% more damage. As well, when you use one of your stealth abilities on a target, your skills will bypass armor for a short duration. This can be triggered from Shadow Dance as well, which makes the 1 minute cooldown on Shadow Dance a very powerful skill. A rogue deals most of his damage while he can stun a target and make best use of Find Weakness. When it comes to openers, not a whole lot has changed in Warlords of Draenor. Rogues still utilize Premeditation to get Slice and Dice active at the start of their opener. You want to wait till you're at full energy before you open. You then Cheap Shot, Rupture, Shadow Dance, Ambush, Ambush, Kidney Shot. From here you can Mark for Death Eviscerate, spam damage, and if you're trying to lock a healer down, it's best to garrote out of that Kidney Shot. Utilize the same opener without using Shadow Dance, just it's less likely that you'll get a 5-point Kidney Shot off because it's harder to generate combo points without Dance. But you still Cheap Shot, Rupture, spam Backstab to your close to 5 combo points, then Kidney Shot seamlessly out of that stun. The key is to make sure that there are no gaps between your Cheap Shot and your Kidney Shot and garrote, depending on how you're opening, because you want to make sure your target is locked down and cannot utilize any of their defensive cooldowns to relieve your pressure on them. In certain situations you'll want to overlap a silence with your stun in the opener to make sure that your opponent cannot utilize any of their defensives. Examples include shamans who can use shamanistic rage and mages who can blink away while stunned. Now that we know how to open, how to maximize our damage, we can begin to examine what a rogue's role is in PvP. Ideally, a rogue is trying to shut down their enemy target so that him and his teammates can open up on that target and deal as much damage as possible. When a target is stunned and silenced, they cannot use any of their abilities, so they're sitting bait for you and your teammates' actions. Alongside this, a rogue should be looking for an opportunity to stun an enemy full, get CC on their healer, and blow them up. Rogues can offer pretty exceptional peels for their teammates by stunning enemies off them and giving your teammates breathing room, allowing them to get some distance, maybe heal themselves up, and recover from bad situations. All in all, you have 2 simple jobs. You should be doing as much damage as you can to an enemy and getting ready for your next burst opportunity, or peeling for your teammates if they are heavily trained and put in a very bad situation and could use your help. You and your teammates should constantly be communicating with one another, letting each other know on the status of one's well-being. Well, that about wraps up the Subtlety Level 100 Warlords of Draenor guide. I hope you found the information here helpful, and I hope you're looking forward to more future videos, because I plan to keep you guys up to date with all sorts of awesome tips and tricks to improve your performance in PvP as a rogue. Until next time, my friends, I want you all to stay sneaky, and could you do me one favor? Go into PvP with a positive mindset, ready to learn and improve as a player. Take care, my friends.
Good Gaming, an e-learning and social networking platform built exclusively for gamers and designed to turn you into an esports champion. We give you the tools, resources, and support to game better. Instructional videos and e-learning guides give you access to powerful strategies and the secrets of the pros so you can dominate your opponents. Our exclusive mercenary system gives you access to personalized support or offer your own services to the highest bidder. And compete in exclusive Good Gaming online tournaments to win cash and prizes. What are you waiting for? Become a Good Gaming member today. Good Gaming, revolutionize your game.